Happy New Year's to you, bro.
Happy New Year.
All right, man. Welcome to our YouTube channel, the Brotherhood of Mental Health.
On behalf of the Counseling Consulting Group of Georgia, its managing partners and stakeholders, we're glad that you have tuned in to our show, The Next Episode. I'm your co-host, Andre McDaniel, a chemical addiction counselor.
And I'm Daryl Brooks, a licensed professional counselor and a master of addiction counselor. Before we begin with the topic of discussion, let us share the purpose of this platform. On the first and third Friday of the month, we will air our show on our YouTube channel, The Next Episode. This 30-minute show will consist of the first 15 minutes of topical discussion and a 30-second commercial break, and then the last 15 minutes providing solutions, resources that are relevant.
Before the show, we'll have a blog providing some direction on where the show is going. The blog is located on our website, www.c2g2group.com. Topic of discussion, Big Sister is watching sexual misconduct.
So check this out. Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer, Al Franken, John Conyers, Harold Ford Jr., Marshall Falk, Eric Davis, Russell Simmons, among the men and men of color that have been caught in the sexual misconduct allegations. Let me tell you how this looks, fellas. It's called a fishing expedition. So, for example, I mean, you like fishing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's go. We're going to fish for bass. There's a certain area that we go fish for bass, right?
That's right.
We take our boat, rod and reel, the right type of what?
Bait.
Bait.
Bait,
Yep.
baby.
We need bait. What we going to have, libations or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's specifically geared towards grabbing that type of fish. What's going on with sexual misconduct? Sexual misconduct is a big boat trolling a big long net and just taking everything that comes in the way. Whatever it looks like, it's grabbing. So it can grab fish, bass, carp, whatever, debris. It's going to carry a lot of stuff in there. So what we want to do on this channel is, at least, and on this show today, is at least break them down into 3 different categories so you can begin to see that not all sexual misconduct is a result of you losing your life and your career. You agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah, so check this out. This is how we're going to talk about it. So we're going to start with the first 3 things we're talking about: sexual assault, sexual harassment, and then sexual inappropriateness. So go ahead, Dre.
Sexual assault refers to an assault with touching, forced kissing, child molestation, exhibitionism, voyeurism, obscene phone calls, torture of a victim in a sexual manner, etc., etc.
Right. So check this out. We define that from an online research, law.com. And when you look at some of the people that we're talking about, the Harvey Weinsteins, the Matt Lauers, Tavis Smiley, and all of them, who would you think really fits that category? Now, remember, the key words that we're looking at is inappropriateness, and it is one of the things is a criminal charge, but it is definitely something that we consider reasonably calculated. It's a sexual manner. The actor causes submission of the victim. So, which ones you would say will be considered that part of that?
Oh wow! I mean that is so wide range, but I'm looking at the source of the feel of empowerment, right, even to be in a position to be inappropriate. There has to be some sort of powering figure or something that I hold over you to get you to submit. So for people of different genres of life, entertainment, business, politics, to fall in that category, I just find it, I mean, it's like the list goes on and on, on and on. There's no discretion of age, race, or color.
And so, like I said, for example, if it was like Weinstein saying these people who wanted to get parts, they had to massage him naked, stuff like that. These are all allegations. Right. So the key thing we're saying, these are allegations. So based upon allegations, this one of sexual, definitely sexual assault would be, to me, that's the category for the Weinsteins, when you're doing something of a sexual nature, but because you are in power or you have some type of prestige, those things can happen.
I feel there is at some point there might have been, and not condemning anybody, but there may have been some sexual inappropriateness as a result of having this power or you in this influential position. Right,
I agree with that. And so those are so we think about that. Okay, so we have someone that's in power in a position. When a female or a male, because this could happen either way, remember, the key thing is that one is dominant and one is causing the other person to submit to do any type of sexual manner. Torture, exhibitionism, molestation, voyeurism. So like if you see, like if a person, you're going to, so that the issue for like Marshall Falk. So one of the issues about Marshall Falk that I looked at in the researching through USA Today was that he did some inappropriate commenting with his makeup artist.
Right.
All right. So a comment, according to this, is mostly a torture or cause of sexual manner. So like, let's say Marshall Falk said, come into my trailer and help me get my stuff in. She goes in and he's naked. That's a different thing. But if you say, man, you look beautiful, you got a nice shape on you, something like that, I think I don't know if that might be inappropriate to them, but it's like I said, that's still up to the discretion of the individual.
Exactly, and we kind of touched on it on the very first episode. It's getting to the point now that you have to be careful what you say to certain individuals before it's misconstrued. Right.
Now, like I said, we will have a blog on our website that has more in-depth information, along with some scholarly articles to go along with that as well. So let me go into the next one, and I want to talk a little bit more, is the sexual harassment. Now, here's the sexual harassment. Like sexual assault, harassment is more of a civil matter. Sexual assault is more of a criminal matter. Sexual harassment is civil because it deals with the workplace. So, for example, still the same situation as sexual assault. Someone's overpowering someone else, but they're doing it in an unwanted, inappropriate way. For two types of that, and I'll define it what it says from the law journal that we got. It is saying that sexual harassment occurs when a person is subject to unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature to the extent that it alters the condition of the person's employment and creates an abusive work environment. Key things about this one, and that's why it's called more of a civil one, because it's dealing with the work environment. Right. So same thing, we're still with Al Franken. He has a work environment. He has some people working under him or their co-workers or something like that, and he said, hey, if here's a situation, if you want to get this extra part or something like this or get an advance, you might have to do something for me. That will be considered one. That's an example. Now remember, all these still allegations. I'm not condemning any woman that has done who have been a victim of this. But like we're saying, we're just trying to help to define it and give you the male's perspective of how a male feels when this occurs. Now, two types of sexual harassment: quid pro quo, that's the favor for a favor, or then the work environment is hostile. So, for an example, if Dre's coming back from a honeymoon, a wedding, or something like that, and Dre's telling me that, wow, he saw, it was a beautiful thing. Him and his wife, they went to the Poconos, went to it was an X-rated thing, adult. First way, so Dre's talking to me about some situation, what's going on, and somebody overhears the conversation and it seems of a sexual nature. To them, that might be unwanted, so they consider to say, hey, that's sexual harassment. Now, right. The hard part about that to me is, if I'm having a conversation, you dip in our conversation, how's that sexual harassment? And
how is that offensive to you?
Right, you dipped in our conversation.
Right.
All right. So that's where the law gets kind of gray at, and that's where when things are said. Now, from a male's point of view, like I'm saying, we're talking from a male's point of view. That's where we get upset, because like, wait a minute, she came into the conversation, or that person came into the conversation, felt inappropriately or felt kind of hostile about what we talked about. Doesn't really make it that it should be at a level of sexual harassment where you lose your job or something like that. Now, right. What can do it is like the allegations of Matt Lauer. When he's sitting there talking to these ladies, he's sending them toys of a sexual nature.
It's totally different.
It's totally different. So the concept of this is that why, when they paint a broad stroke now with misconduct. Mm-hmm. So they're getting everybody, like I said, that big old boat's come by just grabbing everybody. Oh, you said something inappropriately. You touched me inappropriately. That's sexual misconduct. You should lose your job. Here we come. You get caught up in the net. Keep going. And so what I'm telling to the brothers out there who may have been victim of this, or may have witnessed this, or became a part of it, the one thing that you really have to watch out is big sisters watching. So no matter what you say, how you say it, at the workplace, what you try to do, even when you try to do your pimp game, it is not going to be the way it should be.
And it's interesting, brother, the metaphor you gave with the net. And how many are getting swept in the net just to jump on board, just to try to get something out of it, or figure they could get something out of it,
right.
you know, and taking whatever they could think back was done to them or said to them, whether it might have went one way, but you know, everybody else is coming out the woodwork. Let me see if I can get some paper out this.
Right, and that's where we're looking at too. Is it possible? So, like I said, if for females who have been victim of it, like you said, we really apologize for the things that happened to you, but we also know there are women out there that are trying to get paper as well on the game.
That's right.
You know, because it's now Me Too. So the Me Too hashtag comes out. You know,
right.
And so now we got everybody. So Me Too. I was abused. I was saying, and so let's start with Bill Cosby. All the stuff that he went through. And I think
would you say that was the initial start of the snowball effect? I mean, would it actually start with Cosby?
I think so, because like we're saying, what was the rationale behind it? What started them to begin to get on Cosby? You know, conspiracy theorists and those out there in the YouTube world that said that because he was trying to get into the network, where he was going to create his own network and be bigger than them. So, oh no, we got to break him down.
Powers that be, yes.
Powers that be.
Yes,
You know, those who believe in Illuminati and stuff like that. Hey, this the website channel that talks about all that stuff. We can believe in conspiracy theory because that's part of you, but we also, as therapists and clinicians, we're trying to make sure how that works in your world, because if that's part of your world, then we have to be able to understand your world as well and help you get through the guidance that you need as when we do mental health counseling. Cool. Yeah. So let's we'll finish up, and then we'll. One of the things I want to make sure when we talk about that sexual inappropriateness is definitely. I think we guys have been through this. We're both collegiate athletes and stuff like that. You know, you'll say something inappropriate in front of a girl. You know, you grab her, stuff like that. Get on dance floor, and sometimes it gets wrong. But the point that I'm looking at is, when do you know? Or when was it the time when it was cool? Because at one time, someone allowed that to happen.
It had to.
Right?
Exactly.
Because then you begin to step your boundaries. You know, a lot of times, as a young father with a young kid, if I say, hey, don't touch it, it's hot. Don't touch it, it's hot. There's going to be a point that he's going to find out, hey, it is hot.
Yeah.
You know, and if it isn't hot and he touched it, what happens then? You know, so I'm going to touch it again. Okay, it's going to get hot. And then when it gets hot, there it is. So there had to be a benchmark or a point of where an individual had to touch somebody and do something inappropriately.
I agree.
All right, we're going to have a break, man. After the break, we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more. So check us out. See you about in 30 seconds. Good first statement.
Yeah, I think, I mean, because the topic is so freaking broad, man, and we can go on because of in my opinion, just the allegations and, you know, and there's so many dynamics to this thing. This could go on and on, because we're talking about just the women, but we're not even to mention the men.
Yeah.
You know, and then on the flip side of that, how many victims, quote unquote, have there been that are scared or ashamed to come out?
Right.
We haven't even addressed. So,
we haven't addressed that. So
this thing could be ongoing.
Right, and it might be 2 segments, 3, 4. We did sexual. Hey, welcome back. This is the part that we talk about more of the assessment of solutions. The one thing that I want you to know about our YouTube channel, and based upon the Counseling Consulting Group of Georgia, our goal is to provide relevant work, evidence-based materials, and then also scholarly articles for those who want to research it. But we also want to do solutions. We don't want to just talk about the issues at hand and then just go on rambling. We want to at least give 15 minutes into it, so we know that this can be longer, because this is a broad concept.
Very much so.
But what we want to, for the second half of our show, we want to at least show you that there are solutions out there and the things that we would do as clinicians. Because remember, this is an opportunity for those who've never been in mental health counseling or never thought about counseling, especially us brothers. That's why we call it the brotherhood of mental health, is that this is an opportunity to see what can happen when you go to a therapist, and these are the things that we talk about. So, Dre, like we said, let's say this is a guy who is alleged that he did sexual harassment. In order for him to maintain his status, he would have to come in to get some counseling, because he said he wanted to seek counseling. And that's what happens sometimes. As you can see, Weinstein started that off. He wants to go get help. So they always want to go get help. So for those who never understood what therapists do or how the process goes, Andre's going to talk to you a little bit about it. What's the first thing we normally do?
Breaking it down, it's like just giving the simplest example. Something's wrong with your car. You take your car into a mechanic. You can tell him what's going on, but first and foremost, he's going to do a diagnostic test. And in our world, that's called an assessment.
Right. Either way, biopsychosocial or any other type of form that we use, we're going to use that. We're going to use that as part of our assessment. Another thing about that is that what we do too is there are also type of test batteries that we use. So for those, it could be, if you're depressed, we have a BDI, Bex Depression inventory. If you're having anxiety, there's an anxiety test battery. If you substance abuse, there's a SASE.
There's a SASE, there's ASI, there are several out there. Yes.
Several out there. These things help us provide the evidence-based and benchmark to understand what's going on with you. So you come in for an assessment. If we did a role play, like I said, if I was the guy that's coming in for an assessment, Mr. McDaniel would definitely start beginning to ask me. He would look at the things I filled out, starting with date, age, demographics, how were you raised, more likely have you ever experienced anything of that nature? Is there a history of family, people dealing with situations like that? So here's the thing. I come in, I say, man, you know what? They got me doing this stuff, man, and I really don't care too much about being there. I just know I just want to keep my job.
Oh wow, that's so closed in. You know, I mean, I would have to start with some open-ended questions just to try to get the individual to open up more. Well, first and foremost, bringing someone in, as Mr. Brooks said, we want to establish that level of rapport. By doing that, we have to make the individual feel comfortable and let them know what was said or what is said or divulged between us in the session is that just that, between us. With that, developing that rapport, we get the individual to try to, that's why you gain trust.
Yes.
And that time, that individual can open up more gradually. It's not a one day, one process thing. It's just ongoing.
Yeah, and like I said, I always tell them this when I meet my clients. Say, here's two things. You're going to get a version of what I call a thorough version. We are very thorough because our agency wants to make sure that we are getting toward this person-centered, so we make sure you feel comfortable and feel relaxed and have the conversation. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to work ourselves out of a job.
That's right.
What I mean by that is we're trying to give you the tools, skill sets necessary so when you ever handle a situation similar to what you're going through, you'll be able to go get those back in your mind and understand you have a quiver of item tools, or what we call skills, to help you get through what your anxiety or level of depression or anything like that. Now let's say, man, typically what happens in this situation with a person, if a person is alleged to be the one that did something wrong, first of all, he's having some high anxiety because he don't know who to trust anymore, because he can't have a conversation at work because now someone got caught into the carpet, the HR, which means now he's dealing with the fact that, okay, I'm in HR, if I do something wrong, I'm losing my job. All right, that's no money, no bread. If he's single, he can't date anymore because nobody want to make no broke dude. No matter how smooth you are, if you ain't got no money, you can't go out there. You know, that's what I'm saying. I know this is Atlanta, so they might have, but you can't spend if you ain't got, so you can't get what you want. So lightheartedness, that's one. Number two, the concept too is that coming into it, you understand that this is normal. We want you to understand that these things are normal pertaining to that. That you're not crazy, that you're not psychotic, unless we know that based upon some of the diagnosis for that, things for schizophrenia or any type of diagnosis like that, there's things for that. You're not going to be placed on a pill first coming in to see us. Because as licensed professional counselors, criminal addiction counselors, we can only work with the diagnosis of what we got. The only person that can diagnose you with medication is, number one, your medical doctor, and number two, a psychiatrist or anybody up in the medical field of that nature. That would be a nurse practitioner that has psychiatric history, and also probably a physician assistant that's under the care of a medical doctor. So when you come into our facility or any facility for counseling, please note that one, they're not going to provide you that. They're not going to give you that, say that you need to be on pills. Now, they will request a psychological evaluation, which is only get administered by the psychologist. All right, or a psychiatrist can do that too, but more or less it's going to be a psychologist that does a psychological evaluation. They do a more rigorous testing to make sure you hit these areas. What we do, our testing, and then we have the right to diagnose. Our diagnosis is going to be based upon what we consider our DSM-5 criteria that fit a certain type of diagnosis. We do those things just to make sure, and then we also go and talk to a psychologist just to verify what we have. So you're always going to make sure at the end of the day, whatever you're diagnosed with has been verified by first us as clinicians, and then also by psychologists or psychiatrists to verify that this is true and what it is. Once you get that, now comes the part where we work with you on a daily basis, weekly basis, and based upon how severe the anxiety is. All right. Now, if you're a victim, woman, if you're a victim of this, first of all, there's definitely going to be more trauma involved in that,
and
right?
we try to figure out as well, because if, as a victim, to what we call self-medicate, that's why you find some people turn to alcohol and or drugs, and that's why I play my role in. And you have to peel the onion, if you will, to get back to the core of what causes trauma. And as the topic we're talking about with sexual abuse, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, a lot of that is hidden, is suppressed in these individuals, and it takes a lot of interacting with them. And again, think about it. If allegedly a man has done this, and these individuals, i.e. female, coming to a man for counseling, that's already that barrier up, that wall up that we have to, get past, and that takes time.
Yeah. And one of the things, and then we would be understanding of that too, because there's things as far as we would be more questioning, is it okay for me to talk to you? Is it okay for, or what are the things that you are uncomfortable with? Because we don't want you to feel uncomfortable and relive or get something re-triggers something that you went through. It's not closed. You have a way, if you feel you need a way of escaping, you need to get out, that's fine. Make sure it's during the day or earlier, so they can have time, so it's not like late at night or my last client, after hours or nothing like that. We also, one of the things too, if handshakes or something like that. As us guys, we always give each other a pound, side hug or something like that. Some people are not at least that. With kids, the same thing. Some kids are affectionate, more affectionate, so they will. Those things are key for us as therapists and clinicians to know that these are, but we always going to make sure first that we ask the question, is it okay? Do you feel comfortable? We always will do that even with our questions, because sometimes we got to get into, we got to dig where it hurts. A surgeon can't cure anybody if he can't cut, and he has to cut to cure. So sometimes that means there's going to be some pain involved. And so with us as clinicians, we're doing the same thing, although our cuts are more deeper and longer, because when we work into that mental and we get into that, that could trigger a lot of stuff that's been, like you said, bottled up for so very long, then all of a sudden it has a chance to get out. Now we have a big plethora, a flush of emotions that's coming through, and we have to help you navigate through that, as well as decipher which ones are geared towards the pain that you're going through from harassment or something that was set there for a long period of time. All right. What you think about, man? This is our first one, man. Our first show. Pretty
good. I think we're getting a good feel of it, and hopefully some network will pick us up full time. And we'll go from there.
Now, if you liked our first show episode, man, please like us, subscribe to us. If you got any comments, please give us comments, man. We greatly appreciate that. Like we said, this is our platform. The Counseling Consulting Group of Georgia is definitely looking at ways to motivate and get more people in the African American community to get into mental health. On behalf of the Brotherhood of Mental Health and us here at the next episode, we would like to say peace, have a good time, and tune into the what?
Next episode.
That's how we is. All right.
Hold up. Hey. Oh my, be thinking we soft. We don't play. We gon' rock it till the wheels fall off. Hold up. Hey. Oh my, be acting too bold. Take a seat. Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.